Welcome to Scorched Earth and a general reading for the sign of Capricorn, Sun, Moon or Ascendant for the month of November. I hope you are well. I hope that October wasn't too unkind to you. I'm using the Crow Tarot for you today. So let's get straight on with this and see what is going on with you. 3 cards for Capricorn, please. There's the first. We have the 8 of Pentacles in your recent past. Current energy is the Lover's card. That's Gemini in the Major Arcana. And we have the Queen of Wands in your in what's coming towards you for November. Very nice. That's Aries energy right there. Could sometimes indicate a female fire sign if you're dealing with one of those, but I feel like it's more energetic for you. We've got the 3 of Cups at the bottom of the deck, followed by the 3 of Swords. We also have the 7 of Cups behind that. So I wonder if... feel a little like you've had a rug pull. I think that's the best way of putting it. There's been some sort of rug pull here, Capricorn. People that you thought were friends and had your back, or family and had your back. People that you thought had your back. Situations that you thought had you back. Turning out, it would seem at this point not to be quite what you anticipated. The 3 of Swords is an interesting card because it's swords, obviously, but it talks about being broken-hearted. And when I first started to learn the tarot, I was slightly confused why that belonged to the realm of the swords rather than of the cups. And for me, it felt, as I sort of lent into what that interpretation might mean, it was more that point of realization, right? The marriage of heart and head, when the head suddenly realizes not just what has happened but the consequences of that, and the very direct connection that it has to your heart when that happens. The 7 of Cups talks about illusion and confusion. And it wouldn't surprise me that you were feeling that way after the back of this. And with the 3 of Cups, for me, is about emotional support networks. It is those people that you can lean on and that hopefully lean on you too. There's an interdependence there between, the characters on the card. And it's always depicted that way. They're on a level with each other. There is no one elevated above anyone else. And there's safety and security in there, emotional security within it. But to see the 3 of Swords and see the 7 of Cups come out behind it, it feels like it's been destabilized. The good news is, I feel like this has been a push, a shove into making some decisions that perhaps have needed to be made for a while, or that you suddenly realised need making, that are changing things up. I like that. Tell me about this 8 of Pentacles, please. We have the Ace of Pentacles. We've got 2 cards here. We've got the Emperor and we've got the King of Swords. Again, decision making being highlighted. Tell me about the Lovers, please. 7 of Cups and the Mother of Pentacles, which is you, Capricorn. It's not very often that you show up as the Queen of Pentacles. You more often show up as Devil energy, which is obviously a Capricorn card. And we have the 8 of Pentacles again. Why is the Queen of Wands here? No. We have the Page of Cups and the Page of Swords. So this whole reading, for me, is very much revolving around the need to change, right? We're talking about a change of direction here. It's funny, I think last month's video, I don't remember what came out in it exactly, but I'm sure it was called something like Brace for Impact or something like that, because it did feel like something was going to come in. And I can't remember if the Tower card was there or not, but I certainly have felt the presence of the Tower since I connected to your energy here. It's not showing up in the YouTube reading, but it is nevertheless still kind of looming over in some sort of way. And the energy of the Tower, whilst it might appear to be utterly terrifying to some people, I consider it to be a very welcome thing, because it does change your direction. You know, if you're kind of plodding along on a path and everything's okay, it's not too bad, or, you know, everything's a bit shit, sometimes we need a tower to pick us up and turn us 90 degrees. Or sometimes we need to be made to feel so uncomfortable that changing direction, moving ourselves, is less traumatic than staying where we are. And I think Capricorn, although, you know, you are a cardinal sign and you do point in a direction, you know, and you tend to be very narrow-mindedly going off in that direction, right? Single-mindedly, not narrow-mindedly. Pardon me, I misspoke there. Single-minded focus. Like, this is what helps you achieve your goals. It does sometimes end up with you missing things along the way. Opportunities, not so much, because you're primed to look for those. But certainly things on an emotional level, with regard to the way that you deal with people, but also with the way that you deal with yourself. And this is why I find it quite interesting that we've got the Queen of Pentacles showing up here. We've also got the Queen of Swords. And we've got the Eight of Cups here. Now, it could be that you're dealing with a Libra, and it could well be that you're walking away from a Libra, or a Libra is walking away from you. That's an interpretation that it would be remiss of me not to bring up. But it's interesting that the King of Swords has already come up here. And that this whole reading seems to be around change and decision making and movement away from something and towards something else. Now, I say that because for me the Eight of Pentacles is a movement towards something, right? Mastery in its first instance, but there's always a purpose to the work that is being done. People don't just work for the sake of it, right? Not even you, Capricorn, right? There's an end goal in mind, whether it's achieving a particular level of promotion, or whether it's, you know, speaking to the need that you have to provide for your own material security, right? And that's the purpose that's driving behind it. That's what's sending you towards a thing. The Eight of Cups is very much about a movement away from something. So you've got these quite powerful indications that not only are you very deliberately moving away from something, but you're very deliberately working towards something too. Now, that feels to me like quite a strong presentation of energy. But this is where you work out what you're moving away from and what you're moving towards. Right? This is a card of discernment. This is, you know, in the narrative that I have in my head about, you know, how the court hierarchy works, how it interacts with each other. The Queen is the one that you hand all of the information to, right? It's this huge amount of information that you've managed to get on all sorts of things, and this could be how this could be to do with people and how people are responding to you and how you're responding to other people. It could be to do with your material situation. It could be to do with lots and lots of things all colliding at the same time. And the energy of the Queen of Swords is like, right, this is quite a lot to take in. I need to sit down and I need to go through this methodically. And this is what you are very good at, Capricorn, is going through things methodically. The thing is, with the Queen of Swords, being a lower echo of the Justice card, as I feel her to be, it is incumbent upon you to be making decisions about what it is that you are processing as you are doing it, right? It's not just a case of working through it and understanding it. You are called to make a judgment on it at each step of the way. And it's this is all tied up very tight. So instead of talking vaguely, why don't we get straight into the cards, and then I can point out where they relate in each part. So we have the Eight of Pentacles. Now, this could be just to do with your job. This could be your work situation right here. It is whatever you put a lot of effort and energy into, right? It's about investment, ultimately. And why do we invest? Well, we invest for reward. Now, I'll be honest with you, Capricorn, I'd like to see you invest in yourself a little bit more, but we'll get to that. But this card is about doing the same thing over and over again until you get it absolutely perfect, right? That's where the mastery comes in, so that you could do it in your actual sleep. It's here with the Ace of Pentacles, the Emperor, and the King of Swords. Now, this is a lot of very big energy congregating around this. Now, by extension, all of the things that I've said absolutely apply, but by extension, we're talking about commitment to something here too. And so it's very interesting that there's an Ace of Pentacles showing up, because it feels like this is all the effort that you put in, right? This is all the investment that you put into a particular thing. You're working at something over and over again until you get it just right. But this pentacle here appears to have popped up, fully formed, right? While you were working on these ones, almost like, like getting gremlins wet after midnight, and they'll just start popping off new gremlins everywhere. Oh, fuck me, right? There's a theme that's been coming through for all of the readings this month. Every single sign I think that I've read for so far has had a similar kind of thing coming on underneath it. And it is the fruits of your labours. Now, they're in different points of readiness for each of the signs. But definitely this month, November, seems to be a month where people are starting to see, possibly have the fruits of their labours land in their lap, or they're starting to see where these fruits are going to arrive, right? Maybe they're in the flowering stage, not quite growing the fruits yet, but you're well on your way. But it's here with the Emperor, which is Aries, and the Father of Swords, which is Aquarius. And I feel rather than necessarily it being a sudden opportunity that's just popped into your lap, it feels more like you are now looking for a new opportunity. It's possible that you've had a number of them pass you by in the last wee while, in the last year or two, and you've been so focused on what you were doing, so focused on your Eight of Pentacles, that actually you just let those go by because you weren't quite yet at a point of mastery where you felt like it was the right time for you to go looking. But now you seem to be primed for it. And the fact that we've got this Emperor and this King of Swords here, it feels like it's the point when push comes to shove, right? You've been feeling this, and you are very sensitive. I think you're an underrated sensitive, actually, Capricorn. You've been feeling this little nudge in the small of your back for a little while now. Perhaps it's been a pull from the heart, who knows, right? But there's definitely been some sort of thing that's going on. And for whatever reason, up until this point, you've put it to one side. But now it's here. It seems like you are becoming... You come to a point where you are required to make a decision. You are required to make a plan. Like, Capricorns usually have a plan of some description or another. And that's very useful for you. But I think that it's time to start it. Well, I think it's possibly time to revisit any plans that you might have and possibly get ready to can them in order to create a new one. Because the King of Swords is all about decision making, right? Well, we've got the Queen of Swords down here at the bottom of the deck. This is the energy that's acting as an undertow for the rest of the reading, right? We interpret all of this in light of what is coming up here, right? And this is you digesting a great deal of information, right? Trying to be discerning about stuff. Also, possibly considering moving away from something, right? Something has lost its shine. Something does not emotionally fulfill you in the way that it used to. It could be your work, actually. What you are literally doing for your work right now is ceasing to be as rewarding as it once was, and that might be a financial situation, or it might well be an emotional one. I think it's possibly an emotional one. But it's interesting how many 8 cards we've got here. I mean, we've got a number of repetitions, but we've got the 8 of Pentacles, and we've got the 8 of Pentacles, and we've got the 8 of Cups. And 8s in numerology relate to power and expressions of power. Now, that doesn't have to be about money or being the boss or anything like that. Sometimes it's about self-mastery, and I feel like that's something that Capricorns are very interested in. You tend to relate it more towards discipline than perhaps a compassionate outlook on yourself. But nevertheless, it's still an expression of what it is to be in charge of oneself. The thing that I find really interesting is the presence of the Emperor. For me, it's getting a card of getting your shit together. And I do feel like you are getting your shit together, Capricorn. But I'm not sure you're quite... I don't think that you're quite at the point of making the decision about the change yet. This is in your recent past. The Emperor is more concerned with the planning and the strategy and then the execution of the plan. Now, I feel like there's a revisiting here of a plan. Can it be adjusted? Can it be modified in some way? Or does it need turfing out and starting again? But I think this has been nibbling at you. Like I said, it's this kind of push in the small of your back, or maybe a pull from the heart or something. Something nibbling at your ankles for months and months and months, which you have been ignoring, and now it's kind of presenting to you. It's like, nah, it's time now. I feel like there was probably some sort of catalyzing event that's kicked that off, because it's rare that we come to those things after we've kind of procrastinated about stuff for a while. It's rare that we'll just go, all right, I'm going to do it now. And if you understand how procrastination works, what part of the brain that it's actually working on. I listened to a podcast once, it was really, really interesting. The threat of not doing the thing needs to become greater than the threat of doing the thing. Remember, your nervous system cannot tell the difference between the potential of getting eaten by lions and deadlines for work, right? Literally doesn't tell the difference. And I think you're at the point now where instead of just intuiting that there might be lions on the horizon, you've now spotted one about 15 feet away from you, and it's like, ha, now I need to do something. Now I need to make some sort of movement, something like this Emperor. We've got the Ten of Cups and we've got the King of Pentacles. One more for that, please. And we've got the Tower. I knew it was coming soon. We also have the Judgment card at the bottom of the deck. Now this, it's not called the Awakenings card, it is called the Judgment card, but ever since Anatorian brought out the Tower of the Abyss, it's shifted the way that I see judgment. And particularly in this one, we've got ascendance, we've got elevation, right? We've got somebody going up here. But do you know what it feels like to me, Capricorn? It feels like you've been trudging up the stairs for a long time, right? And you've been going up and up and up. You're going up all of these flights of stairs and you seem to have been climbing forever. And there were points where you were tired, but you kept doing it. You've kept trudging on. And you've got to the top floor, or what you thought was the top floor. And the flights of stairs have stopped. And now instead what is presented in front of you is a lift. Or maybe you have to take the lift. I mean, I think this probably would have worked better the other way around, right? You've been going up the lift all of this time, and you got out of the lift thinking you're at the top floor, and actually there's just a shit ton of staircases in front of you. Either way, you kind of get what I'm getting at here. The Emperor, which is the archetypal father in the tarot, and like I said, relates to the card of Aries. Interesting then that we should end up with the Ten of Cups and the King of Pentacles. Now, all of the kings are expressions of a different part of the Emperor's energy, which is to say that the Emperor is the King of Kings. He's made up of all of them, right? So you've got the King of Swords, and now you've got the King of Pentacles on here. They're both speaking to a different aspect of the Emperor's energy here. It is about providing. It is about being responsible. It is about, creating that little empire for yourself. But it is also about being just and being fair and being logical and reasonable and rational, right? That's what the King of Swords brings to the situation. But this Emperor seems to relate very much to your position as somebody who takes care of others. And I don't mean in a, you know, in a nursing sense or anything like that. I mean in the provision sense. Now, maybe the revisiting of the plan is how you provide for other people. Whether you've been providing for a long time and you're not actually quite sure why you should keep doing this, you know, or whether you feel like you need to switch from the stairs to the lift or from the lift to the stairs in order to continue the direction of travel that you've been on. Because this Tower card here, which I have felt very strongly is in your recent past, so don't panic, it's not like it's coming towards you, is seeing you looking at everything, I think, with fresh eyes. Because it's one thing your intuition tapping you on the shoulder or kind of nudging you in the back and all that sort of thing. Like, it feels to me like you've been able to push that out of the way for quite a while. But now something has happened that is having you go back over everything and try and decide whether it is right for you to keep going in the direction that you're in. Now, this is going to be different for each of you. I want to make that very clear. Like, take what resonates and leave the rest. But I think thematically it is right. It's not even a back to the drawing board kind of thing. It's like, in light of this new information that you now have, however this has come to you, is the road that you are on, is the plan that you are following the right one? Is it going to get you where you want to go? Because in your current energy, we have the Lover's card, right? That is the card of Gemini, but it is the card of making a choice. And it's not a choice between, you know, whether you're going to have, I don't know, paint the kitchen green linen, or whether it's going to be biscuit sunrise or something like that, right? You're not talking about the colour that you're going to paint the kitchen. It's about stepping up and making decisions about the whole of your life. To the degree that it doesn't even matter what you choose. What is important is the fact that you are doing it. Now, there have been points at time, Capricorn, where there are certain things that have fallen by the wayside for you because you put them to one side and didn't think that they were important at the time. And I think some relationships will have gone that way. Other aspects, I mean, looking after yourself, almost certainly the care that you take of yourself, will have fallen by the wayside. But all of this now seems to be being brought up, resurrected, if you will, with the Judgment card, for you to look at again. Now, in some ways, the Judgment card can be a second chance at things. But it doesn't feel so much like a second chance to me for you. It feels more like a second pass. Go back over this plan and see if it is actually going to take you where you want to go. Is it going to fulfill whatever criteria you set when you started off down this path? The thing is, we've got this Seven of Cups that is kind of making things a bit murky. Whenever feelings are involved for you, Capricorn, things do tend to get a little bit murky. And that's because at points in the past you shied away from kind of leaning into that side of yourself. Looks like it's about to rain. Tell me about this Seven of Cups. Thank you. Oh, yeah. Nine of Wands. There's a certain amount of resistance to it because it always ends up with you being injured. But we have the Ace of Wands here. Now that's quite interesting because the two of those together make 10 Wands, which, as we know, is a card of burden, but it's also speaking to completion. It is things coming to an end. So what we've got here is a kind of difficult situation whereby you're slightly confused. You don't really quite understand the extent of what is going on, not in a way that you would really enjoy and that you would like. And then you've got this card that speaks, you know, of resilient and having to pull yourself up by your absolute bootstraps and pull energy from somewhere you know not where, and combine it with this new Ace of Wands, new inspiration, you know, new ways of being, new ways of living your life, actually, if we're quite honest. And utilising that in order to really honour the energy of the Lover's card. But how can you do that when everything is so confusing? Well, the answer is right here, Capricorn. I mean, truly, if you put as much energy into yourself as you put into, other things, you wouldn't have any issue navigating this at all. It is time to start taking care of yourself. Recent events have shown you that. And whether that's because you've had the rug pulled from underneath you and the people that you thought were just going to be there to look after you aren't anymore, or whether they've put some sort of boundary up and said, actually, this is not our responsibility. You should totally be in charge of this. Or, whether they've fucked you over in some sort of way, because that's possible. Maybe what you're feeling like you've been fucked over, but actually the reality of it is they've just put up a boundary. You need to sit with this to work out what it is. But the Queen of Pentacles is asking you to invest in yourself, to choose yourself. And I'm finding it quite interesting as I'm looking at here that there's a highlight between looking after yourself and working hard. So we could literally be talking about a work-life balance, The Lover's card, it's the card of Gemini, but it's very closely related to the Devil card, which is your card. And for me, they speak about the difference between free will and a lack of free will, feeling like you have lost your ability to be able to choose for yourself. It's about being stuck, about being trapped. It's about temptation and codependence often. Or sometimes it's about, a kind of ruthless materialism. But I think the fact that it does relate to the Lover's card so strongly is that it speaks to the possibility of redemption really, really strongly too. All you have to do is choose. And I think possibly you felt like everything that you've done up until this point, you didn't really have a choice in doing it. And we can maybe see that in the King of Pentacles. The King of Pentacles doesn't feel like he does have a choice and he chooses to show up for people, but it doesn't occur to him to not do that. And it might not occur to you, or have occurred to you, that maybe working as hard as you are at whatever you've been working at isn't necessarily that good for your health. It's not good for your own mental and emotional well-being. But now, suddenly this seems to be highlighted. Because there are themes of balance that are intimated by the Lover's card, by the symmetry of the Lover's card. In which case it's a case of bringing you into balance, and that might require you to put more effort into you than you do into your work for a little while, just until you get that thing level, get that straight. Tell me about that Mother of Pentacles. Fucking cards, wait. There we go. Three of Swords. Ten of Swords tried to jump out and then put itself back in again. Four of Wands as well. Like, I think this, whatever's been going on with you, wow, okay, well, let's just take those. We've got the Tower that's come out again, and we've got the Queen of Swords. Let's put it that way around, that's how it came out. And we've got the Star card. Now that's interesting because that's chronologically in sequence. Right, the Tower to the Star, with the Queen of Swords in between. And remember what I said about the Queen of Swords. There is an awful lot for you to think about here. There's an awful lot for you to break down. There's an awful lot for you to make sure that you're coming from the right place in. She is that discerning energy. She is what helps you navigate from the Tower to the Star. I think that there is a lot in your life, actually, Capricorn, that is ready to have a big shake-up. Because for all you are a cardinal sign, and for all you're quite prepared to move and work hard in one specific direction, sometimes the rest of your life becomes very, very stagnant, because then the kind of, sometimes the shadowy aspect of what it is to be an earth sign is at play, right? So you might find that you do take certain things for granted. You may take, possibly the people that are very close to you for granted and whatnot. But you can get very stubborn, and you can get to a point where you don't want those things to change, right? It's familiar, and familiar is good. You work so fucking hard in this direction over here. When it comes to this stuff, you just don't want to think about it. You don't want to have to change things up. It's very unsettling. But there's a very clear path here from the Tower, and we've already had that here, to the Star, to your highest hopes and goals and dreams and aspirations, but also to healing and vulnerability via the energy of the Queen of Swords. And the Queen of Swords is not going to take any shit, right? Your Queen of Swords is not going to take any shit from you either. She's like, we can work together, or I'm going to sit here and I'm just going to jab you with the sharp end of my sword over and over again. It's going to be like death by 1,000 fucking cuts until you pay attention to me. Because 3 to the 4, yes, they're in different suits, but this is a catalyst for this. This is about realizing something. And this is about moving on and creating something new, right? Where there is loss, there then becomes gain. Where you realize that you've been, trundling down this road, kind of possibly taking things for granted for quite a while, and then suddenly those things are gone. It makes you question everything. It makes you re-examine everything. And that's where you are right now. You're in the re-examination phase, getting ready to make the decisions. And I like this for you. It's the most positive response to a Tower that you can possibly have. When the Tower comes in, the worst thing that you can do is try and resist it. Try and hold on to those things that have been trying to go. The best thing that you can go is allow those things to move and go, okay, let's consider this space that has been left, and let's consider what I now have the space to see that I didn't see before. That seems to be where you are, right? It's important because all of the cards here are pointing towards a level of autonomy that is actually in alignment with who you are right now, rather than who you were when you started this plan 5 years ago, 10 years ago, whatever. It's actually kind of forcing you to be present. And that's good. That's always good. So what we've got coming towards you in November is, rather cryptically, the Queen of Wands, clarified by the Page of Cups and the Page of Swords. Now, this could be people that you're dealing with, like, in which case, it could be a fire sign, probably female, but it doesn't have to be. And then we've got these 2 pages, which can talk about children, in which case water sign children or air sign children. And air sign children, even. It's a lot of characters. This is the thing that's really interesting. It's a lot of characters to have in one position on a spread. Whether you choose to read energetically, or whether these are actually people or not, it seems like there are a lot of people around who either will be affected by your decisions in November, or else at least will be present while you make them. Now, if we were to look at these as from an energetic perspective, what I really like about this is there's a sense of allowing yourself to be a beginner at something, Capricorn. And adults don't like this at all. And very, very capable adults tend to make the worst students because they hate making mistakes. A lot of their identity is wrapped up in the pride that they have about being an expert in something. You know what I'm talking about. We've all come across those kind of people, right? But here, this is a very bold, very positive move by you. It's a very confident move by you, and it is balanced. It's taking account of what is going on inside of you, and it's going like, do you know what? I'm going to straddle my wand across these 2 lioned heads, and I'm going to sit here in perfectly level, because it is the crow that is the Queen of Wands in that deck there. But there is also, with these 2 pages, and do I say it feels almost humble? Capricorn. I don't know where that's coming from, but there's a humility here. There is a willingness to start at the bottom with something, and it is emotional and it is mental, right? It's holding the two of them. Maybe this is the thing that the crow is straddling here. It is your emotional space and your mental space, how you make sense of your emotions and how you feel your way around what you think, you know? But both of these are initiatory steps on the court hierarchy. They are starting at the bottom. They are taking something that you already have and expanding it into a different direction than where you would have been going, right? The tower is always course correction, and we have seen that for you twice now, you know, notwithstanding last month's reading as well. So your course is being corrected. That means that you might not be the big fish in the little pond anymore, right? You might have been diverted into a much bigger water course, and now what are you going to do? Well, you could sink, but it looks to me like you're swimming, Capricorn. Tell me about this. We've got the Six of Swords, the Two of Wands, and the Ace of Cups. Now, sometimes, there's the Queen of Swords at the bottom of the deck as well. Sometimes when I see that Two of Swords, and particularly when we get a card that comes out either side of it, it's a very clear choose this or choose this. I don't actually feel that's the case for you here. It doesn't feel like an either or of, you know, the Ace of Cups or the Six of Swords. This feels like it's all happening holistically together. So the Six of Swords is about leaving something behind. Remember that we also saw the Eight of Cups. It is unfathomable that those cards should come up together as often as they do, and yet they do. That's just what happens, right? So we've got a mental moving away from something, but we also have an emotional moving away from something, which is truly cutting ties and moving on. But this Two of Wands for me feels, it's like it's much more about going back to check in with yourself. So we see with this Ace of Cups, to see what you want now, and if it is the same thing that you wanted 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, or whether you have changed now, whether your priorities have changed, whether your value system has changed. You know, what water course are you in right now? Are you in a pond or are you in a fast flowing river? Because the way that you behave is going to be different for each. And maybe you were so busy following that insect, whatever it was, I'm thinking of you as a fish at this point, that you didn't notice that you were moving from one to another. But now you are where you are. And who knows how far back the pond is and if you'll ever find that again. But now you're in something bigger that has much more of an opportunity for an interesting and exciting life, right? The bars of the cage have been moved out considerably. So what are you going to choose? I think that this month is all about getting back in touch with yourself and finding out what you actually want. I think it's about the preparation for making the decisions, but it's also the preparation of preparing to make decisions. I hope that that makes sense, right? Not being all like, right, I'm going to make a decision now. It's like, right, very soon I'm going to have to make a decision and I'm going to have to commit to it. I'm going to have to throw my all into it. Am I ready to do that right now? Or are there bits of me that still require a bit of examination? Do I need to work out why I want this thing? Do I need to consider whether I still want this thing? I think you probably do. Because it feels like whatever broad brush has been swept through your life, it's making you reassess everything. In some ways, I feel like it's freeing you up in some sort of way that I can't quite work out. You know, I remember reading about a study once where they got so many people and I'm going to butcher what this study was, but I'm going to try and give you just a vague bit that I remember. Essentially, they got a load of people who were just about to make major decisions that would impact their life, right? Big life-changing decisions. And I think it was about jobs, right? Moving to a job where you took a pay cut, but The working conditions were much better, right? It was shorter days, you worked fewer days a week. You know, but it was a bit of a risk. No, I'm not even sure that's right either, actually. I think it was just big life-changing decisions about the jobs that they were doing, right? When they surveyed these people again later on, the people who took the leap, yeah, this is it, the people who took the leap and changed everything reported a higher standard of satisfaction with their life, even if it had resulted in a considerable pay cut and potentially, you know, a few other things as well, because they'd actually done it. The people who had stayed where they were, who had decided that it was too much of a risk, all reported great dissatisfaction with their lives. And there's something really important in there about the significance of taking a risk, of shaking things up every now and again, just to make sure that you're on the right path. I mean, you're absolutely renowned for your self-discipline. You know, this is why you are achievers. But there's a lot more to life, and I think that you want it. And if you want it, then you're going to have to shake the plan up. And maybe even redo the plan altogether. This is very interesting, Capricorn. Your readings are always really interesting. They're always really quite deep. And that's fascinating to me because you are such a private sign, you know. It's not like you really go around shouting about all of this. Alright, I'm going to leave it there, but I am going to go over to Vimeo now and look at this in a little more detail. And we'll look at November specifically in more detail. So if you would like to join me over there, the link for the Vimeo is in the description box. You could alternatively come and join my circle community. The link for that is also in the description box. You'll get access to all the extended content for no extra cost if you come and join up over there. But if neither of those are of interest to you, that's absolutely fine. Just, I would kind of go easy on yourself a little bit, Capricorn. Don't try and make this decision or these decisions, or even prepare to make these decisions by putting stress on yourself. Yeah, it would be far better for you to kind of relax into making these decisions a little bit, because part of it needs for you to relax enough to be able to take in your surroundings, see where you are, see if it's where you want to continue to be, and then move on from there. And you can absolutely be disciplined about that. You should be disciplined about, you know, where you move off from this point. But until you utilize that energy of the Queen of Swords and really sum up what all of this means to you, I don't think it would be a right thing to even try and make any decisions. So, this month, pay attention to everything. And see if what felt like a terrible tower a few weeks ago now suddenly feels like an opportunity. Because ultimately that's what it is. Tower to the star. It's a very clear path. I like this. Right. Know that I love you all very, very much. And I will see you soon.